Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame on this beautiful afternoon. Plenty of sun. We've been blessed the last 3 years to have very good weather for this. My name's Ed Rosebrook. Most people know me as Mitch. And next to me, when Paul gets over here, is my partner in crime, Paul Crane. And we've got to thank Paul for everything he does involving snowmobile since he was the first American to ride a canoe back in 1959. So thank you, Paul. And we just have to recognize a few of these people here. And if the 2022 Hall of Fame inductees would please come and sit in the front row. The ones that are being inducted this year. Please have a seat, and if the spouse is with them, I think there's enough room for a spouse or significant other. And it's always been a tradition, starting with our very first induction, and that is to thank those special people who have contributed much of their time to this endeavor. So my wife, Linda, she's my right arm. And so Paul's wife, Marilyn, who I think is in the museum. She does an awful lot to help out at this museum. And board member Greg Allen behind the camera. Greg has provided us with a canopy here in the second floor since we've done these outdoor ceremonies. And really, I think adds to it, very much so. And he's an expert at that camera, and we can't be without Greg, and he is a board member. And Mike LaPierre, who's over there under that other canopy, under that other umbrella. And Mike has helped us in so many different ways. I could probably spend all afternoon counting them. He's been right on board with us since the get-go. Russ Quentin, our historian, will help fill in the gaps. Russ has compiled a bunch of the earlier racing magazines and everything, so he has a lot of the data that we need to help induct some of our Hall of Famers here. And Meredith Audette, who always comes with a beautiful camera, and she takes many, many great photos, and she shares them with us each year, and she does a very good job for us every year. And Elaine Riviere helps us too with photos, and she's with Paul Lamontagne, who was inducted a couple years ago. And Alan Cormier for the sound system that he's provided us each year for this. And last but not least, finally, a special thanks to our board member, Bruce Borovage, who even with a full plate of his own, has been nothing short of remarkable in searching for and compiling race records for future inductees. And I've talked with a few of the inductees, and Bruce calls them periodically to see how they're doing, to make sure they're going to be able to make it. He spent a lot of time with these inductees and to make sure that they would get their flights on time. And I got a lot of phone calls with Bruce, and it's just we can't be without Bruce Borovich. Please give also a warm hand to our Eastern Snowmobile Racing Board of Directors. They are Greg Allen, who I mentioned before, Shane Beatty, who isn't here today, and Bruce Borovich is also a board member. Besides what else is Bob Martin, who's here today with us. Bob is a future inductee, one of the first to go on the wall back in 2017. And Ed Stab, who is not with us today, and Ed is on the board this year. So, and Bob Clark is over there, and he's a past board member, and he is one of the inductees. In fact, he's the first person to be inducted onto the wall in 2017, and he's over there. Yeah. So, this is Paul. Okay. Okay. This is another thing that we do every year for people that have passed in our family and people who have passed from our Hall of Fame family. And so let's please have a moment of silence for Kenny Young, who passed away this year, is in the Hall of Fame, and for others who have passed away this year. We have with us today many past members of the Hall of Fame. Bruce and Mary Dunham came today. Herb Yancey's here. Ron and Terry Hall are here. J.R. Tozier is here. Paul Montang and his significant other, Elaine Larry is here. Lois Lund is here. Diane and Jerry Baker are here. Bill and Kathy Abold are here. Dick Elwood is here. And as I mentioned before, Bob and Muriel Clark made it over from Vermont. And Steve Benoff is also here from Vermont. So I don't know if I missed anybody or not, but I didn't mean to. We just announced who we expect is coming or think is coming. I don't know if Spencer Beatty and Lucas Nash are here today, but they're going to race again at Eagle River. Lucas took 7th in the final in 4-foot class last year. And give those guys a good hand for going like Eagle River this year. Beautiful sled this year. And we got to thank the Lancaster Motel again for inviting us to their after party for all the inductees, past and present. Just the inductees. I'm sorry they can only do it for the inductees. But it's the after party that they put on every year for us, and they do a great job. So they invite us over. And so please go back and enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. And yeah, they do a great job for us. And we'll begin our ceremony as always by announcing last year's inductees, and they are William Abold, Diane Baker, Robert Bottom, Wayne Elwood, and Stephen Fenoff. Now we'll begin our 2022 inductees in alphabetical order. Larry Bierman. You can sit there, Larry, and stay in the shade for as long as you want until we call for it, because it's a hot day. So we'll have you come up after I finish reading your race record here. Larry Bierman, inducted into the Eastern Soulfield Racing Hall of Fame 2022. Larry was the first Eastern Snowmobile racer to earn USSA's #1 gold bib for the 1970 season by winning more races than any other driver in 1968 and 69. In 1970, Larry won the New York State Championship along with the Adirondack Cup, and he also won the Pennsylvania State Championship. While racing Skidoo in the 1972 World Series in Ironwood, Michigan, Bierman won all heat races and semifinals in Mod 2, but he unfortunately hit the wall in the feature. In Mod 5, his choke stuck on one cylinder during the feature, but Larry still came in third, grabbing fifth in points for the Eastern Division in Mod 5 earned him gold bib number 11. Bierman was high points man for the 1972 and 73 seasons at the Wheatsport Speedway in Wheatsport, New York. Larry cleaned house at Coudersport, Pennsylvania in 1973 by winning in Mod 2, Mod 4, Mod 5, and 340 stock. He went home with over $4,000 and still holds the average speed record on this half-mile track in Mod 4 and Mod 5. Think about it, 60 years ago. For the 1972-73 season, Larry Bierman made history again by becoming the very first racer to earn 2 #1 gold bibs, and is only the second person to do so by taking high points in Mod 2, Mod 4, and fifth in Mod 5. Larry was offered a spot as driver for the Alouette factory team by Gilles Villeneuve in 1974, but he decided instead to become a USSA race director, which he was for the 74 and 75 season. Larry Bierman raced for Postage Skidoo, Keith Raines Motor Ski, and Elliott and Hutchins Skidoo, all New York distributors. He was regarded as the man to beat by his many competitors during the golden era of snowmobile racing. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bierman.
Thank you for everybody that showed up and for those that couldn't make it. When I was younger, to be #1 was the only thing to do. #2 didn't count. But at my age now, to be #1 would be even better than when I was when younger. But I don't think that'll happen anymore at my age. So I want to thank everybody again, like I said, that showed up for this. I want to thank Paul Crane for this beautiful museum and all the sleds he's got and the thought and the mind to put this together. I want to thank Edward Rosenbrook for starting the Hall of Fame, which would have never happened in the West, because they looked at us as cowboys, just falling off a horse. We rode the horse better than they did. I actually could write a book about it. I want to thank USSA for starting the organization, which all of a sudden just come to be. Nobody thought it was going to happen. It did as big as it was. They didn't even think so. We had to scratch to try to get members to really get this thing going. And once it started, wow, did it take off. And I wish we still had some day like that for the younger people. But they'd rather be in one of them little buzz cars, Soulville. I want to acknowledge and thank all my sponsors, Tasha's Nursery and Fruit Farm. He was my first sponsor, which I was a fruit farmer, and who thought another fruit farmer would sponsor another fruit farmer? But he was a great guy. Glenn Downey, Wheatsport Speedway, sponsored me for 1 year. Elliott Hutchison sponsored me. E&M Speed Shop. Mel Johnson and his partners did all the brain work on the suit. I more or less was the judge. The Dufresne brothers, AC Delco, Mark III Oil. They were all my sponsors, and I want to thank all of them. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here today. I mean, I worked hard a 7-day week or 5-day week on the sled. I'd come home Sunday night, Monday morning, I would be back to being in the completely tearing the sled down. And you gotta eat and sleep it to be a number one, or to think you were gonna win this race. I didn't go to come in second. And that's what B&M was behind me and all of my other sponsors. My 2 sons were the same way. I have a younger son, Scott, that has won 5 national champions in go-kart racing. And my older son is probably the best Yamaha engine builder in the state. And politics got into that too, and then what? I want to thank Oscar St. Anne, who's my partner, for 2 years, for letting them do the bagel. I really appreciate it. Holding it. He belongs up here with me. But I just want to answer this one. Day one, he's a tremendous driver and a really good guy. I would like to also thank my 2 sons for putting up with me all this time and all their support, and my ex-wife, and for all the weekends I wasn't home. I mean, that was a lot of years, a lot of weekends. So I think everybody knows what that's all about. I want to thank everybody again for participating in the sport and for attending this Celebrity Hall of Fame. This really means more to me than anything.
Larry Behrman, ladies and gentlemen. Our next recipient is Anthony Butch Consolini.
I forgot one thing. If it wasn't for all the board members, this wouldn't happen, and their knowledge to put this together. So thanks a million for all the board members. I keep coming back because the mind isn't like it was when I was younger. There's a guy here sitting in the audience. I call him the encyclopedia of racing. Everybody knows who he is, Bruce. And if it wasn't for him, I'd still be trying to find my way out of the Manchester airport. He got me here. Give Bruce a big applause. Thank you.
Bruce, besides being an expert electrician, also was an airplane pilot. And so it was a joke between me and Bruce that he was just going to have to get down there and fly him up here. You know, and he says, well, I can do that. So we got him here. All right. This is Anthony Butch Consolini, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2022. With much early success as an independent racer, Butch began racing in 1968 for the Tri-State Power Sled Team, a Skidoo distributor from Lee, Massachusetts. After making a name for himself in some of the smaller races around the state, Consolini's breakout moment came at the 1970 Massachusetts State Championship, where he took third in B Stock, first in Mod 1, and first in Mod 2, making him the overall winner for the prestigious Governor's Cup. Butch grabbed the first place win in Mod 1 at the 1970 High Chaparral races in East Jewett, New York, and kept up his winning ways by winning Mod 1 in both the oval and the cross country, tying him with Bob Martin for the most points at Laconia International in Loudon, New Hampshire. From 1970, he wound up third in points for the Eastern Division in USSA. In 1971, Butch was unbeaten in Mod 1 at Plainville, Connecticut. At West Springfield, Mass, Consolini led the way in Mod 1, grabbed the third in Mod 2. He took first place in Mod 1 and third in Mod 2 at Monticello, New York. With a second place finish in Mod 1 at Bangor, Maine, Butch continued his winning ways by garnering first place in Thompson, Connecticut. After a second place finish in Mod 1 at Barrie, Vermont, Consolini tied with Timberland Machines team captain Bob Fortin for top points in Mod 1 in the Eastern Division of USSA with 78. And we know how Bob Fortin was. And to even top the points for Bob Fortin back then was been a tough thing. Driving the new 295 and 340 three-cylinder Blizzard, Butch raced to 5 consecutive wins in Mod 1 at Canton, Connecticut. First at Scarborough, Maine, first at Bangor, Maine, first in both Mod 1 and Mod 2 at Lancaster, grabbing a Kilkenny Cup, and first in Mod 1 and Mod 2 in Northampton, Mass. Anthony was a force to be reckoned with in the Mod 1 and Mod 2 classes. He was number 1 in points for the 1972 season in the USSA Eastern Division with 1,812. Due to canceled events of a warm 1973 winter, he still wound up number 1 in points again in Mod 1 with 1,315 points, including a Mod 1 win at the Pennsylvania State Championship. Butch held the top points total 3 years in a row in Mod 1, competing in a class that totaled thousands of active drivers. He wore gold bibs number 20, 12, and 6 during his totally dominating career. And it's just a pleasure because I remember watching Butch race at Lancaster, and he was one of the best. So Butch, please come on up here.
First, I want to thank everybody for coming. Second, for the committee that has even considered inducting me into this Hall of Fame, which to me is fantastic. And Mr. Crane for building and setup that I can't even believe you could do it. It's fantastic. Other than that, there are a lot of people that without them, I would have never gotten to where I was or am today. I first bought my first secondhand Ski-Doo from a moto ski dealer in our town named White Ford. Unbeknown to me, he was a boat racer on the Hudson River. Him and I got quite a bond, and when he found out I wanted to try racing, I could not have had a better person to lean on. I ran a couple of times, worked on my sled. There's an inductee here that has worked on my sled. Ronnie, we met him, and Bobby Herman. They did some work for me in the earlier days when I was first getting started. Without them, it wouldn't have happened. Went to a couple of races, was very fortunate to do very good. And Mr. Fred LeGrant asked me if I was interested in putting my sled on their tractor trailer. Just about knocked me over. That wasn't even a question that needed to be asked. After that, I worked with them and drove for them. I still took care of my own sled, but Mr. LeGrant had quite an operation at Tri-State Power Sled, the distributor for Bombardier, and he was like family. Him and his wife were like family to myself, my wife, and my family. We traveled around and went to a lot of different places. And I'll tell you, I don't even remember half of these things that they just said. It's been so long ago. But it was great to be inducted, and I really appreciate it. And the only other thing I want to do is thank my family that came today. I was surprised. I didn't know that they were all going to be here. And also, the person who put up with all of this, my wife, who she is sitting over here in the shade because she can't be out in the sun. To them, I owe an awful lot. Thank everybody. Thank you again.
Thank you, Butch. And if you look the photo on his plaque, I think he could have been a double for Frankie Avalon. Pretty handsome little Italian right there. If it wasn't for the women, these guys wouldn't be racing. Butch Consolini, ladies and gentlemen. Our next inductee is Ronnie Whitman, racer promoter, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2022. Ronnie Whitman owns one of the nation's oldest snowmobile dealerships, established in 1965 with Motorski, and he won the very first Adirondack Cup in 1966 on this famous brand. As a new Skidoo dealer while racing out west for Tri-State Distributors in 1968, it was here that Ron was introduced to a prototype of a Yamaha snowmobile. Yamaha invited him to try two of their prototypes on snow back in Massachusetts. However, after he gave them a failing grade for very poor snow flotation, Ron was then commissioned by Yamaha to use his parent company, H&R Machine, to redesign the problem. His store became the first Yamaha snowmobile dealership in New England in 1969. Ronnie grabbed second in Stock C, second in Mod 2, first in Mod 3, and second in Mod 4 at the Berkshire Hills Championship in Pittsfield, Mass, and won Stock D at the Massachusetts State Championship in 1969. Now racing for the Yamaha factory team during the 1970-71 season, Ronnie took a first place trophy in Mod 5 at Scarborough, Maine, second place finishes in both Mod 3 and Mod 4 at the Eagle River World Championship. He also won the 440B main event at the West Yellowstone Roundup. During the 1971-72 season, Ron won Mod 1 at West Yellowstone, took another first in Mod 5 at Scarborough, Maine. Ronnie's racing skills and mechanical expertise provided him with many first and second place finishes during the 1973 to 1975 seasons, earning him a number 6 gold bib in professional snowmobile racing. He took 2 seasons off to work at H&R Machine, making pipes for the Brutanza Snowmobile Company, as well as many parts for several top racing teams. But it was in 1978, at 42 years old, when Ronnie showed us he still had it by winning in both Superstock 3 and Mod 3 at Troy, New Hampshire on his beloved Yamaha. Ladies and gentlemen, a Pathfinder, Ronnie Whitman.
I'd like to summon the guy that got up here first and spoke. He had some extra to say. I don't have a lot extra to say. I would also like to thank the people at the Crane Snowmobile Museum. Bruce, and I can't pronounce his name very well, but it's something like overrated or something. I also had a wonderful time in the snowmobile business and in doing racing. There are people here who come up here to pay respects to the people who have raced, who have had a wonderful time at it and enjoyed it, and then to be awarded on top of that. I really don't have much else to say. I'd like to thank my family for coming up here. Run out of words. Thank you very much.
Ronnie Whitman, ladies and gentlemen. Our next inductee is James Saul, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2022. Jim first began racking up wins in 1967, racing snow jets for a local Pennsylvania dealer, who then offered him a ride on a 650 Snowjet honker at a race in Orchard Park, New York. He was leading the race when he fell off. Gathering himself up, young Soul jumped back on, caught the pack, and won the race. After a few successful seasons of racing snowjets, Soul was offered to race the Polaris brand. He so dominated Pennsylvania and New York snowmobile racing on his TX machines that the fans nicknamed him the Flying Farmer. During the first race of 1970-71 season, Jim Saul took first place in Mod 1, Mod 2, Mod 4, and took second in Mod 5 at Monticello, New York. At Homestead, Pennsylvania, Soul won Mod 2, Mod 3. In the Mod 5 event, Jim nearly lapped the field and won going away. He won every race he entered at Corey, Pennsylvania, taking first in Mod 1, Mod 2, Mod 4, and Mod 5. Jim won both the Pennsylvania State Championship in Homestead and the New York State Championship in Boonville. He amassed a point total for the season of 318, more than doubling the second place point total of 150. Jim Soul was presented with the USSA Driver of the Year trophy by none other than Bob Eastman. On a side note, his racing budget for the entire 1970-71 season was $5,000. Today's racers could not even build a competitive engine for that. Soul had won what can only be described as one of the most incredible seasons in USSA history, winning a total of 25 times, finishing second dozens of times, and third only once. In 1973, he outdistanced 170 drivers to win his second Chautauqua Cup in Mayville, New York. Jim Soul raced until 1976. He came out of retirement in 1994, winning several more races on snowjets and Arctic Cats. He retired again in 2006 at age 60 amid cheers of relief from his much younger competitors. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Soul.
I'd like to thank the Eastern Snowmobile Hall of Fame for inviting me up and inducting me. I'd also like to thank my family and my other half, Claudia. She came with us and she set this up for me last night. They surprised me by when I pulled into the restaurant, my daughter and my son-in-law showed up there. So they kind of surprised me. Took my cousin along with us. We picked him up in Buffalo and brought him up to go with us to the induction. I'd like to thank Dick Kennedy, my friend of 60 years. He went to most every race I went to. Helped me work on sleds all weekend. Didn't get a whole lot of credit, but that was my friend, and he's still my friend. Dick Coos was the dealer that I first started to ride for. I rode motorcycles after I got out of high school, and he's the one that taught me never look back. I raced him a couple times. He was very good, and I seemed like I was a little better, and I really caught heck from him because we were racing scrambles, and I turned around and I looked back, and I went. He was behind me and went like that, and he said, "Next time, don't ever look back." So I never looked back. Billy Kane was the distributor for Snowjet, and I started riding Snowjet for Billy Kane. Tony Jansen Senior was the owner of Tony Jansen Automotive. They helped work on the sleds. They were real good on motors. Bob Eastman, of course, gave us a lot of ins and outs. Bruce has been great, keeping us informed on coming up here and when to be here and how to get here and everything else. Thank you, Bruce. Homer Casgrain, which is past now, he owned the A.H. Burley Company, which was a distributor for Polaris. Bob Best was a salesman for them. I'd like to thank all my fans and anyone else that I've forgotten to mention. When I first started racing in my teens, that was on a motorcycle. Well, I got pretty good on a motorcycle, I guess. And, Billy Dean was the distributor, so he sent the first honker over here, and I took that down to Orchard Park and cleaned up down there after I got up, after I fell. But sometimes you got to fall before you rise. Raced Snowjet for Tony Jansen, sent 6 sleds up to Erie one time for a cross country, and all these guys owned these sleds. Jansen worked on them all, and he made them run good. So I'd get off of one sled, and the next guy would say, "Take mine, take mine." So I did that 4 or 5 times, and cleaned up all the Snowjet desires. I drove grapes in northeast Pennsylvania for Welch Foods, and I was delivering grapes one night, sitting in the truck, and 2 guys are coming up to the truck, and I wonder who these guys are. Well, it was Homer Casgrain, the owner of the Burley Company, and Bob Best, the salesman, and they wanted to know if they gave Coos the dealership for Polaris, if he would take it on, and they wanted to know if I would ride Polaris. So I said, yeah, I'd ride it. So they started me with, between Bob Eastman and them, they sent 2 Playmates, 295 and a 340 up for Burley to let me ride, and I rode them on grass drag in Corey, Pennsylvania. We won everything up there on the grass drag. Those little Playmates would jump 3 feet off the ground, and sometimes I just kind of wheelie down through, so I got used to doing wheelies. We won those. Then we went over to Corey, another race. We went over to Corey. They gave me a 396 single cylinder, and we raced on a school track. It was flat, but the sides were quite high on each side. And every time I'd pass somebody, instead of passing them on the inside, I'd pass them on the outside. I'd go up over the bank. The people on the other side of the track thought I was flying, so that's when they gave me the flying farmer. We raced another race on the flat track. The next day they had they were building a new school. We raced on the field, and everybody told me, watch out for Yancey. Yancey's out to get you. So, Bub, I think you missed me. Anyway, we had a good time. We went to, next race we went to was Monticello. I took first in Mod 1, second, first in Mod 2, Mod 4. But I had Dick with me, and I got to tell this little story about Dick. Dick would always go along. I'd say, "Hey, Dick, let me use your handkerchief." And I opened up the hood and I'd wipe my clutch off, and I'd get all the grease and stuff off it, and I'd give it back to him. He says, "I'm not your servant." So he went up and sat in the bleachers, enclosed and heated. After I won the second race, he's right down there grabbing my skis. "You all right? Need anything? Need anything?" And so we had car trouble on the way down to Monticello, but I ended up a good day. We didn't have any lights on the car, and it was snowing, so we had one guy on the left side with a flashlight, one guy on the right side with a flashlight. We made it to the race. On the way back, we made it as far as Binghamton. I had a flat tire, so I'd only made $3,000 that weekend. They wanted to eat, so I said, "Well, we'll go to the gas station here and see if we can find a used tire." We got a used tire, got that on the car. So I took them over to McDonald's across the street, and I gave each a cheeseburger and a small fry. So we headed home. But when I got home, I bought my grandmother a brand new car, a brand new Ford Torino. Then we went on up to Boonville, won the Andronic Cup up there, beating all the factory sleds. I think the reason for beating the sleds is when we had motorcycles, we used to put bolts through the tires, and we could lay the bikes right down. They had so much traction, much grip that you could lay the bike down, touch the handlebar. So I figured I'd do that with a sled. So I did that with a sled. I put a three-cornered plow on. I think it was before we had carbides, before we had studs. But it was an icy track that day, and it was, I didn't have any problem staying in front of them. I did run the Winnipeg to St. Paul one year. It was 52 below zero when we got there. The chill factor made it about 150 below zero, and it was cold. I actually took towels out of the motel where I went. We had to get up 4 o'clock was the start line. I'd take towels and stuff them in my pants to keep warm. I had a stocking mask on, cloth one. I had a leather one over the top of that. I had a helmet with a full shield. And if you went like this, your lips would freeze together. So that was my thing at Winnipeg. I had experience, but didn't go along. I mashed the sled up, blew the motor up. Of course, I was running pretty good. I should have made a right, I made a left, and I stuck the motor. Who's right behind me comes running in here a couple minutes later. Bob Easton. Well, he placed that day. I didn't. I had to come home. So that was my Winnipeg to St. Paul. 2 years ago, we had Mike Kemper wrote an article in the Vintage Snowmobile magazine, and he wanted me to come to Weedsport to a vintage show, and Claudia and I were walking through the pits, and this young man comes up to me. He said, "Are you Jim Saul?" And I said, "Well, I could be." And he said, "I've been holding this ticket. This he was hoping to get me to sign a program, and he'd been holding it since he was 8 years old. Wow. It was 1971 ticket. So I signed that, and that gave me a great feeling. In closing, I want to thank everybody again. Thank everybody for coming out today. I'd like to thank the board for nominating me and inducting me, and hope everybody has a good day. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
I go too fast.
Our final recipient is Timothy White, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2022. 17-year-old Tim White's first win was on a 7-horsepower Skidoo at the 1964 Lancaster Grand Prix. During the 1964-65 season, he began racing for the oldest snowmobile racing team in the history of the sport, the Lancaster Snowdrifters. In 1966, now racing for Roberts Motors Racing in Class B, White raced to a close second in points at the Grand Prix, took 2 first-place wins in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, and grabbed 2 firsts and 3rd in Plymouth, New Hampshire. Tim took a 1st, 3rd, and 4th in Class A to win the 1968 Vermont State Championship in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. White was the first snowmobile racer in history to capture both the Kawartha Cup and the Bourbon Cup in the same year at the 1968 Laconia International against Team Ardic's best driver. He raced his Class 1 250 Skidoo, 250cc Skidoo, to win 2 more big trophies at one race by winning both the Paul Bunyan Open and the Maine Governor's Cup at Bangor, Maine in 1969, racing a Cassidy-built 1965 Rotax engine against others with much larger displacement engines, as well as the Skidoo factory team. Tim began racing for Timberland Machines' Big T Skidoo team in 1970, scoring first-place wins at the Balsam in Dixville, Notch, New Hampshire, and Berlin, New Hampshire. Timothy Gary White left the sport. He so dominated in 1971 after a horrific, unavoidable accident at the Lancaster Grand Prix when another driver fell off his sled directly in White's path, severely injuring his fellow competitor. He continued racing for the remainder of the season, but the effects of that one trying event was just too much, and he retired at season's end, taking along with it his amazing driving skills, which produced some of the finest, most memorable moments in the rich history of this great sport. Verna, please, come on. This is Verna White. Tim White passed away in 2012. I gotta say one thing too, Tim was a great friend of ours. I grew up with Tim. I can't hold together, Ronnie.
Well, I guess I can speak on the life portion. We would see my child with my dad and mom for the weekend, and we take off on a Friday every week during the winter months. And we race all weekend, and we come home late Sunday night, go back to work on Monday, work through, and then late Friday afternoon, we head out again. He loved his racing. He put a lot of time and effort into it. He worked on all his own machines until he went to racing for Timberland Machines, and then Timberland would let him work on his own machine, which he didn't like that. But he was very dedicated to the sport. He was very dedicated to the friends that he made in the sport. And he leaves a really big legacy for his 3 kids. And I'm really proud to accept this honor.
If everybody would maybe stay outside here for a few minutes while Grace gets the camera set up inside. We're going to drop the the curtain on the new inductees is on the wall there. And Mike up here is going in.
We got to talk
And,
about the
Mike
DVDs.
wants to say a few things too. He
Yeah.
and I have been working on a DVD over there, and it's on my wife's table, at the T-shirt table. And this DVD is it's a, what did you call it? It's a time capsule. It was an 8mm film of the 1971 Grand Prix, and it's like if you're interested in looking at how it was back in the early 70s, if you're interested in how the sleds looked when they were brand spanking new, if you want to see a brand spanking new King Cat 4-cylinder, if you want to see a brand spanking new TX 650 and 800, if you want to see brand new Blizzards, brand new snow jets, when they were only a couple of months old, you got to get this DVD. And at the end of the DVD, we have a small segment of the Malone World Series over in New York in 1973. And there's so many people on these DVDs that we now miss. There's Bob Horton on there. Bob Eastman is on there. My uncle Dick Monahan, who owns the golf station here in town, is there. My aunt Edna's there. I'm on it. Cal Reynolds is in it. There's a lot of people that we watched back when we were kids. And if you want a piece of history, pick up a DVD over there. Mike did a great job compiling it and editing it. And he slowed, you know how 8mm is. It's like watching the Keystone Cops out of 1920 flickers. And so he slowed it up so that you can actually see the sleds as they fly by. You can see the numbers. You can actually see some of the drivers. And so I urge anybody, and this is for the Hall of Fame. This is going towards the Hall of Fame, the museum, and Vintage Lovers Snowmobile, who met the podcast that Mike has. Yeah. It's helping out 3 different venues by buying this DVD. So, and you got something, you got a piece of history there. Anything you want to add, Mike?
Sure, yes, there's almost 2.5 hours worth of content on this DVD. And what we did is anytime we saw someone that we recognized, we would freeze it. We would talk about that person, any history, a lot of history on there. Any exciting moments on the track, we would try to slow down for some slow-mos. Like I said, it's almost 2.5 hours worth of content, a time capsule from the early 70s. And like you said, the profits are divided 3 ways between the Hall of Fame, Train Snowmobile Museum, and my Vintage Snowmobile podcast that I do every week. Also, for people who are viewing, we've been live streaming over here. Anyone watching on the live stream, you can also order one by mail. There are details in the description. But the post office gets a cut as well. So it's an extra $5 to ship that to your home. But yeah, if you're here, $15, the DVD is yours, and you're supporting all of the 3 things that we just talked about. And thank you in advance for your support on that.
15, I was getting 20. Okay, well, we owe $5 to people that pay 20. Larry Behrman has got another thing he wants to say.
The mind is finally starting to work a little bit. I think there's one thing that every guy has forgot to say in all these ceremonies from day one until right now. I want to thank all the diehards that showed up every weekend hoping that would be their day of glory. And I want a big hand for them, because if it wasn't for them, none of us would be here. Thank God.
Now, Larry came up and wanted to know if he's looking. I want to say one more thing. You know what? These guys can talk all day if they want. This is what it's for. It's for those guys sitting there. And this is all we do it for, is for these pioneers. So anything anybody else has got to add, just come on up and add, because you know, you're going home, and unfortunately, probably some of you people are a long ways off, and we may not, get you back here. So this is the time to say anything at all. And yeah, and also Paul just pointed out, don't forget the Lancaster Motel is putting on the after party for the inductees, present and past. And so please go down there after the show and get a little bite and mingle and a little camaraderie amongst y'all. And we'll be down later. We're going to pick up, but we'll be down later. So if you'd hang, oh yeah, we got to do the 50-50 drawing. All right. Oh yeah, and Mike just hit me with we've got a 6 DVD set. If anybody's interested in watching all of our inductions, this is the 6th induction that we did. We've got DVDs on all of them. So the people that you see on the wall in there, if you want to watch them as they get their plaques and watch the speeches that they made and stuff, some of these guys, get the DVDs because it's all on there. Every single induction has been recorded. So we have a 6 DVD set. How much is that, Mike? Okay, $60 plus $5 to ship, but it's a piece of history. Yeah, and Mike has got bonus videos where he talked to the inductees. He had interviews with all of them, and you know, after you get away from the camera, sometimes there's a lot of information that these guys didn't remember to say that they say on these little interviews that Mike does after, and you can learn a lot from the history of this sport by getting these DVDs. And that one was the Grand Prix in the Malone race. So please feel free to go over and pick those up. Anything you want to say, Mike?
Yeah, one other comment about the 6 DVD set. Episode 6 is being recorded as we speak by our friend Greg over here. So it's going to take me a little while to edit that. We're taking pre-orders is what we're doing. So if you do a pre-order today, my promise to you is to get it out to you by Halloween, to have it edited and finished, the whole 6 DVD set with all of the inductions, plus interviews and other bonus footage. A lot of information on there. And we thank you in advance for your support on that. The other thing I would add on that is the profits that we're making from the 6 DVD set as well as the other discs are being divided 3 ways between Crane's Snowmobile Museum, the Hall of Fame, and the Vintage Snowmobile podcast that I do. And we thank you in advance.
Thank you, Mike. Mike works hard to do these, and nobody works harder on this stuff than Mike. So, you know, all right, you got to. All right, winning ticket is 7802202.
Right here.
4 digits, 2202. I got beat too. My friend Bruce Boulevard and a fellow board member wants to say a few words.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today and making this a big success again, 6 years in a row. And take a moment to thank the backbone behind this organization, Paul Crane and Minge Broker. Let's have a hand for it.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Bruce. Yeah, so this actually, I guess, concludes our induction ceremony, and Mike LaPierre needs some time to set up inside the museum. It actually concludes our outside portion of it. We're going to go inside. We're going to have the inductees go in and stand there while we unveil them on the wall. Their families, please come in and watch this. And then if you want to have photos taken in front of your plaques and things like that, stay as long as you need.
No, pero lo sacan con
Yeah. Okay. So let me just get situated here. We're going to have the unveiling. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just talking to the camera. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, we're going to have the unveiling in here in just a moment for the new inductees. And thank you, Lacey, so much. Thank you so much for that, Lacey. We appreciate it. And you are very welcome. We appreciate your viewing. Hope it came in well at home. And yeah, we very much appreciate it. So while we're waiting, we'll take a quick look at all the snowmobiles here in the museum, Crane Snowmobile Museum, 172 Main Street, in Lancaster, New Hampshire. If you're ever in the area, come on by. It is by appointment only, so you want to call in advance. If you see you're going to be coming through Lancaster, call in advance, make arrangements to come in and check out the museum. It is very much worth a look. And if you're able to hang with us here just a few minutes, we're going to have the unveiling of the new for the new inductees. All right, here it is, folks. Drum roll, please. Yes. Photographers and videographers understand. You do great photos, by the way. actually, if you want to get in front of the camera now, we can do a quick interview. If you want to make a few quick comments about, just, my name is Ronnie. I was just inducted, and just thoughts you have about being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Any memories that you have? I want to get you right up close to the camera for good audio. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Yep. My name is Ronnie. Ronnie Whitman.
Thank you for reminding me. My name is Ronnie Whitman. I was just inducted to the Snowmobile Hall of Fame. Snowmobile racer for probably 20 years. I had a wonderful time doing it. Snowmobile racing, a lot of work. Very, very much impressed. I would be considered among some of the great races that we had back here in the Northeast. Really, really thanks to the Plane Museum, Bruce, all being part of keeping this thing together. It's a wonderful, wonderful sport. And I think it's the spectators, sponsors, people that keep this thing going.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Cool deal. Yeah, so this is going out to, this goes out to 8 different places on Facebook and YouTube Live. So they're live for the whole hour. Yeah. Do a podcast. Finishing the podcast every week.
So, is it okay if
I believe so. Yeah, I asked them. I don't think so. Anyone who's inducted and whoever with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
My son put the beer. My wife said, this is, you gotta go.
Yeah, in just a moment here, we're going to have the unveiling. Get some more comments coming out. Here we go. Yeah, thank you so much, Lacey, for all the great comments. We really appreciate that. Yeah, we're very happy, Lacey, that you're able to view that in real live and in real time while he was being inducted. It was a great time here if you were in person, and we're glad that you were able to enjoy that in your home.
That's your error. All right, we're going to run the cameras and drop this cloth. And count to 3.
Drum roll, please.
All right, 1, 2, 3. All right.
There'll be a lot of people making comments in here. That's all right.
Point to it. Oh, I know. Yep. Yeah. All right, got it in the car.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
We're good.
We're good.
We got the real one.
Yeah, that's right.
Good, very good. Yeah, be sure and check it out on Facebook. Good. Oh, good, yeah. Appreciate that. Right at the table. Yeah, well, this one, we're gonna put this on DVD. Yeah, well, that's, well, no, that's 65 to the 60 DVD set. It's the other one is 15, the 8mm time capsule project. You can order two, yeah. You email me. You find, if you search for this on Facebook, it's Soulville. If you message that page, that's me that receives that. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's being the 6th one with him. And if you get on that Facebook page, this is where this live stream is. Oh, that's the right hat for being outside here. Yeah. If you could hear the swears that were going on in my head. Really? Good, yeah. I didn't see it. When we looked, everyone we probably could recognize, you know. Sure. Yeah, if you do, let us know. Yeah, they're out on the table there. $15 for the 8mm time capsule. Yeah. Cool.
I didn't see it, guys.
Sure.
We got it in Bucky. And maybe when we got it.
Roy's not already up there?
Yeah, Roy and Bucky.
Check out this photo.
Oh, yeah, right there. Wow. Wow, look at that. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah. I couldn't hold together the camera. I was too close to the camera.
Hey, Butch. You going to the new You want to stand in front of the camera? Just like the minute you're coming on my name, Butch. Right up close for good audio. You want to have you come even closer, like right here if you can. Yeah. And, you know, just, yeah, my name is Butch, and whenever you're ready. Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations. That was great. Cool deal. Yeah, nice to meet you. All right, folks, this concludes our broadcast day. Oh, wait, we've got some comments coming in. All right. So give our best to Paul and Midge. We absolutely will do that. And, oh, Lacey, yeah. I hope you're able to see that that interview we did with your dad. Glad you're so proud of him, as well you should be. Yeah, hopefully the audio came over on that. Let me know, Lacey, how the audio was, because there's a lot of background noise, a lot of people in this room, and hopefully that you're able to hear him speaking, because that's what we're going to put on the DVD for an interview with him. And we thank you so much, Lacey, for viewing this live. We really appreciate it. And with that, this concludes our broadcast day. Thank you, everyone, so much for viewing. This Hall of Fame, Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, just gets bigger and better, more wonderful every year. And we thank you for being a part of it. The viewers, the attendees, the inductees, the organizers, everyone. It's just a wonderful experience. All right, thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.